A lot of people have reached out to me and said they're both terrible candidates. What does it matter? Why are you supporting Biden? He's no better. The crime bill, but the crime bill, but Kamala's, was a prosecutor that put a lot of black men in jail. So we did receive a lot of that, and I wanted you to say to address that from your point of view and how you deal with that, because it can be overwhelming to get messages like that, and it also fills people with despair. So Francis, I'll start with you. How do you have you dealt?
I mean, it's valid in a certain extent to a point in which people want to ask the question as to what is specifically Joe Biden going to be able to do, especially for those people that are constantly marginalized and impacted by the policies that he has put in place in the past. Now, the first thing that I have to give credit to Joe Biden is he's, and especially in the last debate, came out and spoke against his own decision making in that. So if you can learn as a politician and try to adapt, then that's a major factor that has to be taken into consideration when you're looking at two candidates, especially when you look at Donald Trump, who certain things, like if you want to specifically focus on areas that are going to directly impact people of color, one of the big ones is police brutality, right? So in my mindset, which I'll get to why that doesn't matter as much in a minute, but in my mindset, when I'm looking at someone like Joe Biden, he spoke out against qualified immunity. Donald Trump literally said he would never even humor it. So that's a big factor if you're trying to really figure out the differentiation between both of these candidates. Now, the second thing is, I've met a lot of people who look like me, white people who would say, oh, they're no different. I'm not going to even humor the election because they're just as bad at each other. That is a position of privilege that person is talking from and doesn't understand. Even just so they're looking at it from a macro level and looking at it like, well, it's not going to impact me either way, so I'm not really going to care. But you have to really start to boil down to such things like qualified immunity and certain issues that Joe Biden is going to be more easily maneuvered in a direction also in a progressive way than someone like Donald Trump. So, and then there's the other side of it, where there's people who have been directly impacted by the horrible policies of Joe Biden in the past and the incarceration rates that Kamala Harris oversaw, and you have to listen to them and how they've adapted through the history. Donald Trump has not adapted since his comments on the Central Park 5. He has made it his point of view that he prioritizes one group of people over the other. If a candidate can show some sort of remorse, at least, and understanding that they didn't have the best judgment and have vowed to work with those who are going to try to at least adjust and make this world a better place and look to dismantle the institutions that have led to so much harm, then I can't sit and say that person isn't justified in feeling that way, because I don't understand what it's like to be that person, specifically if they are black or brown. But what I can try to say from the point of view that I'm looking at, from analyzing it, is who's going to give you a better chance at a better future. And that's what it comes down to, I think.
Yeah, I agree with everything Francis was saying. I think from an organizer's perspective, we've always been saying that Biden is at least somebody, and Harris, the Biden-Harris ticket, are at least a regime that we can hold accountable with some sort of moral referendum or moral insistence. The Trump administration cannot be talked to by organizers. There's no sort of pushing back. There is no kind of accountability that he would even entertain at any level. In fact, what he ended up doing throughout his presidency was go harder for white supremacy, go harder for misogyny. And so we saw that any effort that we tried to do to push up against his administration did not prove to keep our communities safer or healthier. And in fact, when it came to coronavirus, it was people of color that suffered the most dire numbers, the most dire deaths. And that's why you saw them come out significantly on election day and through the mail-in ballots. They put their lives at risk in places where they're dying twice or three times as much as other people. You know, with Latinos in Arizona, Latinx population, Black folks in Detroit, in Georgia, all over the place in Philly. So people from from my community, Arabs, Muslims, we understood that there was no negotiating with this administration. And of course, Biden-Harris is not our dream ticket, but also on a national stage is not where all politics lives. And we have to understand that. The national elections are sexy for people. That's why we kept on impressing, like, down ballot issues are also important. And the Democratic Party never learns its lesson. We understand that, but we still show up because it was a strategic vote for us. We don't even know if we're going to be able to live under another 4 years under a Trump administration. You guys saw what Stephen Miller's plan was for the next 4 years if he got a mandate. They were going to, excuse the pun or the word, they were going to trump up what they had been doing in the last 4 years. So this for us was a strategic decision to survive. And I'll just say one last thing, especially from an organizer's perspective. I know you saw this too, Aida, that people probably said to you, and they said to me, if we had Trump again, then people would be very clear that he was their enemy and they wouldn't be pacified. And I said, like, that's absolutely false because most progressive movements in American history happened under a Democrat, under Kennedy, under Johnson. That's when the civil rights movement happened. Under Johnson's when the Black Panther Party happened. Under Obama's when Black Lives Matter happened. Under Johnson is when Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta came out for the United Farm Workers. So what we're saying is get us out of our rapid response mode right now and let us have an administration that we could fight by building our institutions to fight them. So that's a strategic choice we made.